Yeah, hi, I'm Ray Dorset, aka Mungo Jerry. Let's talk a little bit more about some of this rock talk. Lots of people ask me questions, and one of the questions that I get asked a lot is where do I get my influences from my music? And I have to start thinking back to my childhood days, and the first song that I ever learned and the first song that I sang in public, which was a novelty song, I've Got a Lovely Bunch of Coconuts. You might know it, you might not. I've got a lovely bunch of coconuts, there they are, all standing in the row. I'm not going to go through the whole song. I think that this is why I got so much into novelty songs and campfire songs, because I like stuff that's entertaining. So early on, I got into things like, I put my finger in the woodpecker's hole and the woodpecker said, "God bless my soul, take it out, take it out, take it out, remove it," and so on. So later on, then when I got a bit older again, there was George Formby. Now, George Formby was a Northern English guy that was an absolute maestro playing the ukulele banjo, and he had a great sense of rhythm, and he wrote a lot of really good songs. I think even Van Morrison was, and George Harrison was into George Formby, and he put a lot of innuendos into his song, innuendos or whatever the word is. My English is not good. So, we've got some music playing. I'm just going to stop talking for a minute and let this go out. Okay, yeah, we changed locations, but I was talking about George Formby. I was influenced by the way that George Formby did some of his rhymes, and then he kind of missed out the word that was the rhyming thing. So later on in my life, when I got into music a bit more, and when I got older and I started playing blues and stuff, I used to play this B.B. King song on stage called, I think it was called "All I Want Is a Little Bit of Love." That was the chorus. All I want is a little bit of love, a little bit of love. Right, so I got this thing. Mum and Dad went out one day. What a bit of luck. I took my girl around our place so we could have a drink. I took my girl to the movies. She undid my zip. I stood up to make some room, and out fell my money. Right, I did that song live on a Capital radio session in London one night. I got home, turned on the radio, and all I could hear was people phoning up the station to complain about my lyrics and my jokes, right? So, and I got banned from Capital Radio forever. So that was one of the stories. But that was my influence from George Formby, and all these kind of novelty things and a bit of fun mixed up with blues, rock and roll, and all that kind of stuff. I always thought it was fun to do, because everyone, you know, they tend to get a bit serious about music. I want to give people some information. If you want to make it in music business or the entertainment business, it's okay to be different. It pays to be different. As I said, I've said this before in other videos or whatever I've done. Being different, I was always worried. I was different. I said before, I had a big cap in my teeth. Okay, it's not so big bum, all this kind of stuff. But I learned, if you're different, people will remember you. But you could be different for the sake of it and be a bit silly. Look at this. Just think about this, about fashion, right? You can follow fashion, or you can be different and start fashion. Now, when the first guy that walked around with a baseball cap on his head, back to front, people thought, what's this guy doing walking around with a baseball cap on the wrong way round, back to front, if you like. Now everybody does it, right? And everybody does it, and they think if you wear a baseball cap round the correct way, you're not in fashion. Creating fashion or being different. Now that can happen in music. Now when I started out and had a big hit, obviously I'm always talking about the first hit happened to be my biggest hit. In the summertime it went all around the world. It was totally different to everything else that happened at that particular time, and it's totally different now because it still sounds as fresh as it was made in 1970. It was recorded in 1970. Other people started, or other bands started to play a similar kind of music. It brought in another resurgence of jug band music or skiffle or whatever you would like to name it. But my stuff could never be categorized because it was a mishmash of everything, and it stayed like that until this very day. But you've got to think, when rock music, heavy metal music, everybody had tattoos, piercing. You thought if you wore 4 belts, you get signed. If you've got an extra tattoo, 50 tattoos, you might get signed. If you've got 1,001 piercings, you got 100 piercings through your nose, 50 piercings through your ears, you get signed. You can grab attention like that, but this is not going to make your music better. You've got to have some good content. It's no good just looking different. You might get recognised, but these days you can walk down the street anywhere and you're going to see people that look like stars. Okay folks, look, I've talked about loads of different subjects, a bit here, a bit there, a bit everywhere, but let's say it's probably given you guys food for thought. Food for thought means that you've got some questions, you're going to fire more questions at me, more questions at other people. I'm just another guy walking around the street that's been doing my job for 79 years. And all this celebrity stuff, I couldn't give a toss about it, to be quite honest. So I say live and let live. Look, we're children of God. That's all I can say. Good night and God bless, or good afternoon, God bless. Depends what time zone you're in. So let's say have fun in the sun. Love you all.